A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. I am the aforementioned Ironhead. This fellow to my right is the Dear Goon.
Hello.
And it is All-Star Tuesday in Major League Baseball. We are getting closer to college football season, and we are also getting closer to getting our radio station back up and running. I swear to you, we are. It has, and I am not on the technical end of things, as anybody who knows me can assure you, but this thing has been very frustrating on very many different fronts. I appreciate a lot of people reaching out, inquiring about it. I am hopeful and optimistic that we will be up and running for tomorrow's programming on the station, but we're still I'm not going to get into the weeds on this. Just some things that still are not working the way they should be. It has been very, very frustrating. So we will just leave it at that. Hopefully, again, we made a couple of big steps forward on the technical front over the last 48 hours, and fingers crossed we'll be on the air locally tomorrow, and our show on Thursday will air once again on Sports Radio 98.7, the Fox. Meantime, it was interesting. I'm just kind of flipping around. I had the TV on the background. I'm trying to get some other stuff done today. And Paul Feinbaum and Heather Dinich are talking about the SEC. I will say it's funny. And listen, the Big Ten would be doing the same thing, and Penn State fans would be pointing to it as a source of pride. So I understand it as far as it goes. But Greg Sankey making a big deal that the SEC schools are all they believe in their footprint, and they're all contiguous states. It's like, well, okay. I mean,
that's what they're trying to sell.
Yeah, well, yeah, and make no mistake, if the Big Ten had the same thing, they'd be promoting the heck out of that. Truthfully, in this era, I think you're smarter, better, and I would be heralding the fact that we actually go coast to coast if I was the Big Ten. At the end of the day, I don't know what it really matters one way or the other. You don't get bonus points or a star for, hey, we're named the Southeastern Conference and our schools are Southeastern, and that was one of the contentions. I'm not sure anybody quite buys that Texas or Oklahoma is actually Southeastern, South Shore. Eastern half of the United States, not so much. And again, at the end of the day, I'm not sure what it matters all that much. But it was interesting just to listen to the discussion there, and it seemed to be a source of pride. And that's fine. I take pride in whatever you want to hang your hat on. That's great. But one of the things that they were discussing, and even though I certainly have thought about it in more of a glancing, cursory manner, I hadn't really sat down and thought about, listen, the reason the Alabamas and the Texases and the Ohio States are going to continue to dominate is, yes, resources and all that, but what it really is the depth. You are going to have the potential for a college football team to play 17 games to win a championship. And in particular, so after a 12-game grueling regular season, and I think you can fairly use the term grueling if you're talking in particular about the Big Ten or the SEC, but really, I mean, any of the conferences, a 12-game regular season schedule, even with some cupcakes thrown in and some of the folks that are on the lower end of your conference spectrum, that is a lot to get through. And then potentially you will have a conference championship game, and potentially then you go from 12, 3 playoff games to get, and obviously, I think the conference championship games are going to be short-lived. I think that is going to go by the wayside sooner, not for the upcoming season, obviously, but I will not be surprised if as early as 2025, the 2025-2026 season, that is not part of the equation. Because it creates more problems and doesn't really solve any, would be my contention. And I think you would rather have the income for the conferences and for college football from a playoff round than a conference championship game that ultimately is fairly meaningless. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I know I was away last week when I sent you guys that text message about the guy talking about the NCAA, about the playoff game and stuff like that. So how much do you know about the playoff game? Like that, the play-in game, the first round, I guess we would say.
Yeah.
I mean, Booch talked about it last week. I was watching the show a little bit, and the one guy said that weather, hotels, and tickets are going to play into it. So it had me thinking all weekend, Jeffrey, about this. I mean, that play-in game obviously is brutal. But if you got to go play a 12-game schedule, win your conference title game, and say you lost a game along the way, so you're not in the top 5 or top 4, so you have to host the game. That's a hell of a couple weeks there, Bubba. I mean, you're going to win it. You're going to win it. You're going to earn that. So,
well,
I know you guys talked about it, but I have questions.
Yeah.
So this playoff game.
I feel like we always have questions.
This December 20th and 21st playoff game. There's 1 game on Friday and 3 on Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. I get it. I love it. I love the idea of it being in the North. But who owns those tickets? Is it the NCAA? Who comes in here and say when they host an NCAA basketball tournament game, they own all the seats. So
that is a good question.
I don't know. Are they allowing Penn State season ticket holders to get first right of refusal on their tickets? Is there 30,000 students invited to this game to pay for a ticket to go to the game? Is it corporate that you need to buy at a whole different price scale than what we're used to? I mean, that thing opened up a can of worms in my head, which is a lot of room up there. So, but I could not believe it when I was thinking about it, because I know a friend who, when the Eagles played in the Super Bowl, won the Super Bowl, it was in Minneapolis.
Yeah.
His company had tickets, and they wanted $25,000 if they wanted their tickets that they have for 8 or 10 Minnesota Vikings games. Now the NFL goes in there and says, "Well, they're our tickets, and you can buy them, but they're $25,000 a piece." So, do you think that the NCAA would come in and do that to a visiting stadium, or is it truly a Penn State home game? I have to figure this out because it has been driving me absolutely nuts.
Boy, that is a good. We need to get Pat Kraft on here and find out what that they're being told.
That's
a great question. My guess is that it's not going to be like Super Bowl level changes, but it's not going to be a Penn State home game.
No.
There's going to be some.
And you
for
have
sure,
to give
something
your
set
opponent
aside
just as many tickets as you're getting, I think.
For corporate. Well, I don't think you're going to need to do that. I do think you're going to need to give a greater percentage than you have set aside for a home game.
Correct.
But how much greater of a percentage that is?
And then whose tickets are getting?
That is a really good question.
People.
Yep.
I mean,
that's a great question.
I mean, sure, I'm a case in point. We're just going to use as LSU as an indicator.
Yep.
So LSU's got to come into State College December 21st and play us at 4:00 in the afternoon. How many tickets do the LSU fans get? How many tickets do the Penn State fans get? And who owns the tickets? It's nuts to think about because you and I, you know how wrestling works with the NCAA. They go to an arena and it's their seats. It's their event.
Yeah.
Even a basketball game, if Penn State plays it in the NCAA tournament, it's not a Penn State game. It's not the people hosting the game. It's the NCAA game. And then, you know how they are with their corporate sponsorship. I mean, they get first rights. So who from Penn State season ticket holders are going to get, okay, well, you don't have these tickets. You can have these tickets, or you don't get any. It's, woof. Yeah.
Yeah, that's there's a lot there to
a lot. And then there's the lot was what I was really upset about was them saying, well, weather's going to play a factor into this in the hotels. And I'm like, what? That should not play a factor into this. But when it comes to corporate,
I don't think it really will in terms of like, hey, it looks like it's not going to be a great sunny day. I really don't think that's going to play
a role. Buffalo as an example,
and I think Penn
Buffalo's
State's
on a
fine.
lake.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it is a big thing to weather-wise. But then, okay, so if it is corporate and it's 1/3 of the tickets, so 33,000 tickets are going to be corporate tickets. Those corporate people want hotel rooms. How many people come in the state? And I know we can sit there and say, oh, well, we have 25 hotels here. Is that enough? That's the crazy part, because that's why we've never hosted an NCAA playoff game.
Yeah, I don't think the numbers will be the same. I don't think it's going to be 1/3 that go to corporate. And I don't know that. This is just my guess. I'd be very surprised if that, because part of why they are doing it this way is they want a Beaver Stadium environment. They want a Ann Arbor environment,
and
or
you
Florida,
earned that right by finishing 5 through 8. So you have the right to host that game.
Yeah. Now again, it's not going to be a ticket allocation like it is for a normal Penn State home football weekend. But I also don't think it's going to be like you're talking about with a 1/3 Penn State, 1/3 to the opponent, and 1/3 to corporate. I think it's a good question. I got to think about it a little bit more. But I think the majority of seats are still going to be Penn State fans, or at the very least, will be opened back up to Penn State fans after whatever initial process is involved. It is. I had not thought about that angle of it.
Because I look at like Michigan. My friend's son plays for Michigan, so they came in last year. They obviously stayed with us and our friends, but there were people that they were on their team that they worked down into Clearfield, into Lewistown, and into Altoona for their hotel rooms. Now the NCAA ain't going to stand for that. I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're going to like that.
Well, I mean, they might not like it, but they're like that's. So the time that it's going to take you to get to the stadium is going to be an hour to an hour and a half. Well, you can be a couple miles down the road from the Coliseum. It's going to be the same time frame. I don't know. You might be right. Maybe it's a bigger deal than what I'm thinking it is, but I really don't think, because you can get within a pretty easy drive. Again, the additional.
And my
hotel space that you need.
Jeffrey?
Also, they're going to, where it's really going to impact, because like the NCAA for wrestling, like they block off the rooms for a year in advance, or over a year in advance, once that they know where the city's going to be. It's like, all right, these hotels, these floors are for teams, these floors are for media. This hotel is for our corporate sponsors, whatever. So they'll have that stuff set up. Like the people that they need to take care of, I'm again assuming here, but I think that stuff will be figured out logistically ahead of time. Where it could be is, hey, I always come up from Harrisburg and stay at Hotel X, and nope, that's not where you're staying for the playoff game. You're going to have to stay down in Clearfield or Altoona. But again, and people will complain about it, but they're going to come because it's Penn State in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And it's a chance to go to Beaver Stadium. While you won't make everybody happy, I don't think you're going to be in a situation where it's like, oh my God, look at the empty seats. They're going to if somebody is like, oh, forget it, I'm not going up to that, there's going to be 20 people rushing to take those 2 tickets from you. So
my final conclusion is that the worst possible decision will be the one the NCAA makes.
Well, that is probably
par
true.
for the course, if you know what I mean.
But what they were talking about with Heather Dinich and Paul Feinbaum earlier today is that because of that, the potential, 16 games or 17 games to win a national title, 15 or 16 to get to a national title game. Yes, you need top end talent, but you need depth is what you need, because much like an NFL season, you're going to have a stretch in there, whether it's the postseason or during the regular season, where you've got guys out and probably significant, important guys out. So that depth that, we've talked about with Ohio State at quarterback, well, yeah, it looks ridiculous that they have 5 guys that all would project as big-time Division I starters, but that's what is going to allow the Ohio States, the Georgias, Texas, again, and it's going to go right down just like it is. But that depth is going to be even more important, and those schools with the NIL setup and with all of the things that we've talked about ad nauseum, that is going to be the difference maker more often than not. Now, again, could you get a year where, boy, Penn State, can you believe the luck? They all of their key guys, Katron Allen stayed healthy. Nicholas Singleton was there all year. Drew Aller just missed that one half, and Fabiola came in and played great. I mean, boy, the stars were aligned. Yep, you can have that. But long term, year after year, it's going to be Georgia, it's going to be Alabama, it's going to be Texas, it's going to be Ohio State, because those schools have the resources and will be able to field teams with depth, like high level, big time depth, where you have, the situation that Penn State has at running back, those teams have across the board. Maybe an exception with a position here or there, but they can go 2, 3, 4 deep, where it's like, yep, 4-star, 5-star, high-end 3-star. Like, and it's going to be really hard.
I don't want to put you on that spot like this, but how do you think Oklahoma and Texas will fare in the SEC year one?
So that was the big discussion. What was really driving the conversation today on, and I forget now if it was, like I said, I had it on the background kind of a good bit of the afternoon. So I'm forgetting which of the ESPN shows it was that they were talking on. But Texas in particular was the discussion. Like, can they come in and win a national title? Could they be a team that becomes what Georgia and Alabama have been in the SEC? And it's funny because, of course, the long time, Nick Saban the other day said, no, they're not going to come in and dominate. And I guess it depends on how you want to use the term dominate. Like, they're not going to come in and go undefeated season after season after season. Neither has Alabama, neither has Georgia. As great, Georgia darn near did it for a couple of years, but so do I think Texas could come in and Texas is good enough. They can win the national title this year. So could they win the SEC? I don't for sure. Now, is it going to be easy? And that they got kind of mired down on the, well, is it easier or harder for Texas to do so now that they're in the SEC? And that to me is an interesting discussion because being in the SEC, obviously the profile is higher. Schedule is unquestionably tougher than what it was. But with what they have done on their recruiting front, especially over the last 3 years, they are well positioned to certainly challenge, I think. Now, Oklahoma is the one to me, Goon, that like Oklahoma and USC, to me, Oregon and Texas are well positioned. And listen, this stuff can change like that. I mean, so just talking in the moment here as we get ready right now, like it feels to me like Oregon is really well positioned. And if anybody is going to make a run at Ohio State, it feels like Oregon is the team. I mean, I'd love to say Penn State, and I don't think it's, out of the question that Penn State could challenge. But going in, I mean, Oregon is clearly the greatest threat to Ohio State. And to me, Texas, if you lump Georgia and Alabama together, Texas is clearly the greatest threat outside of those two to win the conference. I would argue right now in the moment that Texas is the greater threat to Georgia than Alabama going into this upcoming season. That's debatable because I do think
it's a whole
DeBoer
new world
is a
now,
great coach.
Yeah.
And I think that
he's lost a lot at Bama. They definitely had to replace a whole lot. But
and Texas has been kind of building toward this.
My thing with Texas and Oklahoma is it is an every week thing.
Yeah, see, I think Texas has the depth now that's just like I think Oregon has the depth that is as tough as the Big Ten is, and I do think it's a tough physical conference. I think Oregon is going to manage that part of it fine. Oklahoma and USC to me are those are the programs that I am really fascinated to see what happens to them, because I think both could get mired. And by the way, I think both are capable of being regular contenders in the conferences too. So I'm not sitting here predicting that, we'll never hear from Oklahoma again in terms of the national championship picture or USC again. But I do think this upcoming season and then the following year are really big years for those two programs, because I do think if you aren't in at least, let's say the top six, and I think that's certainly not a guarantee for either, not an unrealistic expectation for either, but not a guarantee. If they're not in the top six of their, Oklahoma in the SEC and USC in the Big Ten, in either of the next two seasons, I think it becomes really, really hard to try to take that next step up and become a title contender. And I'm talking national title contender, because both of those conferences are just so loaded with coaching talent, with playing talent, and again,
recruiting
never
funds,
say
recruiting
never.
Money, NIL money.
Never say never, and I'm not saying either of them couldn't, finish seventh each of the first 2 years and then turn around and be in the national title picture. I think it's very unlikely, and I think both of those programs are vulnerable right now because of the conferences they're entering and kind of where they're at in the moment on the national stage.
Well, I mean,
and I think it's going to be, to me, that's going to be fascinating. I think Texas and Oregon, again, I don't know that they're both necessarily going to finish second, but they're both really well positioned. I think both for the upcoming season and for the foreseeable future.
I just go back to this because I was doing the 30-year stuff for us in the Big Ten and the Rose Bowl. So we got to our second year in, and it was a little bit of a learning curve, and that's what I'm interested in. And that is that I have sat here before, talked with you, but I definitely have talked to Booch about there is a lull when you join a new conference that you sort of have to step back and gather up what's going on. The only team I ever knew to come into a conference and dominate it was Florida State, but they were so far and above better than all those other teams in the ACC. So, okay, so I'll use us as an example in '93, and that was, we bought our certain brand to the Big Ten and changed how the Big Ten was thought about itself and how it acted. Like, we played for national titles.
Yep.
The Big Ten was, they were happy with playing for Big Ten titles. We changed that mindset, but I've talked to you and I've talked to Pooch about it, and that is that everything changes when you join a new conference and you get into this little lull like we had in 2000 to 2004. Nebraska is hopefully coming out of that lull right now, that they had that big dip in who and what they were type of thing, because everything does change. All Texas and Oklahoma did was open up Texas and their recruiting areas to the SEC schools to come in there and take their players type of thing.
Yeah.
Now, I have a history with Texas, and not my history, but just in my general thinking, and that's because I have friends from the state of Texas, and that state is so crazy about football that if you look, a lot of Texas guys don't really get better in college because they've almost been maxed out since high school. And it's a crazy thought to think about that, but it is true.
That's what they used to say about the Nebraska guys going to the NFL. They maxed out in college.
But these guys at Texas, from the University of Texas, I mean, the knock on them historically the last 10 years has been they are super soft. And that's crazy to think about a Texas team being deemed soft. But it was, the guys were spoiled. You know, they were still going back to these spoiled type of atmosphere in their program, and they weren't really tough. I'm so interested to see how the SEC handles them. I really am. To see if Oklahoma, would you consider Oklahoma down right now? I would.
I mean, it's all relative, but yes, in terms of
a
title
is as high as they've
right
been
now.
in a long time.
Yeah,
it's very interesting to see them go in there. And your week off is Kentucky. Your week off is Vanderbilt. Like, those aren't bad teams. You know, you're not playing Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia. Who else was in the Big 12? I mean, geez. So there's some real. I mean, it's always been those two fighting each other. And we talk about how, like, the SEC, they don't really play defense. But now go back to Oregon now. They're going to have to learn how to play some defense in the Big Ten. Like, they're not going to come in here and just throw all around on the Big Ten guys. You don't understand what I'm saying? Not Oklahoma, but Oregon and USC and UCLA with their West Coast offenses with wide open offenses, they get shut down pretty quick in the Big Ten. What a super year coming in, man! It really so much changing.
We'll see. I think they will be able to put up points, and I think they'll throw it around pretty well.
There's my question.
What I don't think,
more to us or us to them?
Well, I think they're going to struggle defensively.
Correct.
To match up with what the Big Ten brings offensively, but I think their offenses,
our defenses will have tough time matching up with them. You're right.
Yes. It is my guess going into it. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch and follow anyway. We're going to take a break here, and we are coming back with more of our Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak and Lube in Stay Calm.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great time, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
The State College Spikes are hitting the field all summer long. Enjoy fun, affordable family entertainment as the future of baseball is on display in Happy Valley. Spikes games have something for everyone at the new look Medler Field at LeBron Park. From great giveaways to fantastic deals, from special appearances to plenty of fireworks, all the way through September 3rd. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or get the schedule and buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome back in here on a Tuesday as we get ready for the All-Star game tonight. One Paul Skeens getting the start for the National League, and it will be fun as a Pirates fan to see how the beloved Buccos starter does. And I think we talked about it a little bit last week. The All-Star game does not have, obviously, the impact that it did when we were kids, back in the good old days. I mean, there's no way it could, because it was a unique opportunity back then for folks to see National League and American League stars on the same field. It just never happened except for at the All-Star game and in the World Series, and that was it. And there were also different rules in the two leagues, different styles of play. And again, all of that is by the boards. That being said, still a fun game, still a fun opportunity. And as Booch said last week, it's of the sports that American fans follow, it is the sport that most lends itself to you're still playing legitimate baseball, unlike the Pro Bowl, NBA, or NHL All-Star games. You're out there, you're playing the same game you're playing during
that pitcher's
season.
trying to strike every person out, and every person trying to hit a home run off of him. Yeah. An NHL All-Star game, there's no defense. Pro Bowl is absolutely horrendous to watch. NBA basketball, horrendous to watch. So it still is, in a nutshell, still a baseball game. Now, you're not having guys taking guys out at second, running over.
Right.
Was it Pete Fosse?
Although with the rules now, you're not doing that in the regular season anyway.
No, what I do want to say that MLB is doing right. I mean, how they announced that Skeens was the starting pitcher was pretty damn cool last week on Dan Patrick's show.
Yeah.
And the manager from the Diamondbacks called in and said, "Paul, you're the starter." And that was like, I mean, you could see. I mean, imagine that. He was a a college baseball pitcher last year, right?
Well, and one of the things that I think that the expectations were so high for him, and for somebody to come in and with those expectations surpass them, I mean, that just almost never happens. You look at Caitlin Clark, and it's been an adjustment period, and she's doing very well. And I'm not bashing on Caitlin Clark. I'm just saying, like, the expectations can be ridiculous. LeBron James going into the NBA, it's like, hey, we're expecting this guy to be the next Michael Jordan. It is really hard to, out of the gate, live up. And I would argue to this point, Skeens has, again, surpassed expectations in the very early stages.
I would absolutely
of his
say
career.
yes.
And that's nuts.
Fun to watch, dude. I mean, honest to God, I've told you this before. I'm a Phillies fan. But when Skeens is pitching, I will watch the Pirates.
Well, and I think most of
That's
I mean, he
exciting.
is a phenom, and obviously the Livy Dunn factor helps him for sure. The stash, I mean, it's the whole thing, but it is one of those now. Oh, Skeens is pitching, let's check it out. And you've seen it. He's a phenom, and just like other great pitching phenoms we've seen over the years, when he goes into an opposing ballpark, it fills up because people want to check it out, see what this hype is all about. And again, to this point, very small sample size, but it has been again, to me, he has more than lived up to the hype that surrounded him, and that is pretty astounding when you consider where the hype train was for him, even going back to spring training.
When was the last time you knew a first-round pick, a first overall pick in baseball?
Well,
Bryce Harper, I can remember that one because he was a phenom. But that, like you're saying it right, he is an absolute phenom.
Yeah, so I'll check out the game for sure, at least the early part of it tonight, and we'll see. Can I just I had kind of sports on in the background today while I was getting some other stuff done, and there has been a lot of angst over the American soccer team, and there's just a couple. And listen, I don't know enough about it to be able to tell you, hey, that coach did everything he could to get off of his back. They got rid of him. That's fine. But there are a couple of things that I just think need to be pointed out, because I'm listening to a lot of the, we're the United States. How are we not that dominating? Well, soccer is, for most American families, kiddos included, and I get that there are families that are an exception here. I'm talking generally speaking, right? No question that football is our number one love when it comes to sports, American football. Probably basketball right now, clear number two. And then I think baseball would still be third right now, right? And then you get into, hockey.
Might be, I would fight baseball, basketball personally, but that's just.
Yeah. So, but nationally right now, it's no question. Football's one, basketball's two. I think baseball would be three. I think. Could be wrong about that. I'm not sure if, again, it becomes very regional. Even with baseball, I suppose now it's regional. And then again, you have some sports that are on the rise, and soccer has, supposedly been on the rise for pretty much all of my lifetime. I grew up with, and I had a poster of Pele, and it's like, man, this guy. And when he came to the Cosmos, it's all right, this is going to change everything, and it didn't. And this has been a cyclical thing ever since.
Every 4 years.
But I don't think our best athletes, by and large, are playing soccer. Most of the other countries that we're talking about, the aspiration. Again, the majority of American kids, what would your dream be athletically? What would your dream be? Play in the NFL. Some the NBA, some Major League Baseball, and some all other sports. Again, I get it. We have lacrosse fanatics. But soccer is somewhere after number 4 or 5 on the list in terms of, hey, man, I aspire to be. Well, that's not the case in England. I think it's the top women's sport in this country, personally.
I think women's soccer is probably the top women's sport in this country. That's just my opinion.
You think more than basketball?
I'd say that more kids play. I don't know. Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. But
I do consider in America soccer a woman's sport. That's not a knock against men's soccer, but because they're not getting our best athletes.
Well, yeah, and at the end of the day, so that it's just not the priority.
No.
Now that doesn't mean, again, I don't know enough about it to be able to tell you. And
we go and play in these big nationwide tournaments, and it's like back in the late '80s when we were sending up when we were going against the Eastern Bloc countries, and we had non-professional athletes in the Olympics. We had no shot,
Yeah,
that's where we're at. I think the competitive nature of Americans get to us that we're watching these sports, and it's like, wow, why are we not competitive in this?
and I will say, the other argument against what I'm saying is, well, the United States does dominate Olympic sports, but my contention there is, again, soccer is the priority for most of these other countries. Sure. In none of these countries are the Olympic sports, again, for a majority. Obviously, there are people that grow up dreaming of being an Olympic gymnast, an Olympic swimmer, across the board. I'm going to end up not naming a sport that somebody, hey, why aren't you mentioning that? So all of those sports have passionate bases. Obviously, wrestling has a very passionate base where it is, and we get great athletes that go into it. And actually, it's taken a while for the United States to kind of get to where Iran, Russia, some of these, because wrestling's a bigger deal.
They're a lot.
In some of those countries. And so, I'm not saying that the United States should be satisfied with not contending on the world stage. It's just, I think there are some reasons behind it that seem to me pretty obvious. And now can we do a better job, we as a country, getting more elite athletes in the sport? Sure. Certainly if you're a soccer fan, that's what you're obviously hoping to happen.
I'll throw soccer in there as number 5 on the American sports. Who are the best athletes of the 5 sports in large, do you think?
Well, I mean, so this is going to get into, it depends on what you are defining great athletes as, because
a guy get
quickness,
412-yard drive is
speed,
an athlete compared to somebody else. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, there's different skill sets.
I personally say that basketball players are the best athletes because of the sheer size and athletically and how fast they can move.
Yeah, again, it's going to depend on like what hockey players do is ridiculous.
Right. I'm setting you up with what I'm doing.
Yeah, but because of the skill of skating and then the strength, speed, etc. Now, again, there's how many kids have access to hockey at a young age versus, hey, you want to grab a basketball and go down to the neighborhood hoop and shoot around. So the access is certainly there for basketball, maybe more than baseball or football.
What I'm going to say, I could actually put in soccer in that same position, and that is, I'd asked Guy Godowski. I said, if you took the best athletes that America has, a.k.a. our basketball players, our football players, our baseball, whatever.
Yeah.
Guys who are just great athletes, big, strong, fast people. And you put them on skates and a hockey stick at the same age that, say, Sidney Crosby got when he was on the ice at 1.5 years old.
Yeah.
You put a guy like LeBron James out there at his size, his strength, his athleticism, and his speed. If he had been taught from age 1 hockey, age 1 soccer, would you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his answer to me was, not one other country would win a medal or a trophy versus the United States if that was the case.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you could say that about it. You could say about any of those sports, right? If you were taking
but the Canadians, their best athletes are playing hockey. And you understand where I'm going with this? Like basketball players and football players, if they grew up playing ice hockey, how dominant would the United States be? How dominant would the United States be if all we did was play soccer as kids growing up?
And I think now it's a pretty similar thing with baseball in Japan. Like that they're best. And again, there's a lot of great athletes, not saying that there aren't from the United States playing baseball, but same thing. If you took all of the best, and and I'm not saying all of the best in any of these countries are necessarily doing soccer or baseball or whatever.
Let's just say a guy my size is not going to grow up playing soccer. I think I would be pushed toward, if it was soccer or hockey, I'd be pushing playing defense in hockey.
Yeah.
That's just my feeling on the whole thing. Is if we grew up the way that the South Americans do and the Europeans do, with that being their main love and the main sport, it'd be a whole different world, in my opinion. And that's just because I'm a crazy proud American and stuff like that. Because I like to think, because I do get mad when we don't compete in stuff.
I think
you know what I mean. I think why are we not beating Panama right now?
Right.
Well, if we play baseball against Panama, I don't know.
By the way, United States under 20 team dominated, and that is
the wrestling
an understatement. Yes, at the Pan Am Games. 10 for 10.
Oh,
yeah,
2 styles.
It was pretty impressive. But
did you watch it, Jeffy?
You want?
I watched. It available?
Yeah, I watched a good bit of it. We had a lot going on that day, but the Mad Turtle turned 9 on Saturday, so I was checking it out.
Almost ready for travel baseball. 77 weekends a year, Jeffrey. Come on now, get ready for that, baby.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another. Someday we should do We did a morning show on it once with youth sports and
how it's changed.
There's so many different thoughts on it. And you could argue for better, you could argue for worse, could argue indifferent. And I'm not sure anybody is necessarily right or wrong.
What I'm amazed with in baseball, Jeff, in baseball.
It's not just baseball, but go.
I'm amazed at the size of the kids. They're not that big to be able to throw the ball as hard as they can and hit the ball as far as they do. They're being well taught. Better so than me and you.
Yeah. So we had.
Your equipment, I'm sure, was the same as our equipment from like the 1950s.
Yeah. Well, so my kiddo, who again just turned 9, but he's in a league. Went into kids pitch for the first time back in the spring and is doing summer ball. And we actually last night, it was the first time I have been to. It's the first time that a game in which the Mad Turtle was playing, there was an over the fence home run hit, and this kid smacked it. We were at Montfresor, which is the field right off of Bristol Drive there in State College, and it went into the metal bleachers. And I mean, it was impressive.
So this is off of another 12 or 10-year-old kid.
Correct. Well, these are so the thing about the summer league was, so we have it. It's a mix of 8 and 9-year-olds, and then I think it's 11 and 12-year-olds. So each team, they tried to distribute it pretty, and they have done a good job. Most of the games, our team got crushed last night, but they beat that same team last week. It was I don't know if it was the Heat. Our team, it's the first time in a long time that they just looked sluggish. But yeah, the kids are pitching, and this kid, I mean, launched it. It was like, holy,
and that takes a lot because that ball is not coming in fast.
Correct.
Usually
now,
the old these were two. The harder they come in, the faster they go out, type of thing.
Yeah. Now this kid was throwing relatively streaky. I mean, it was a good, good velocity for what it is, but yeah, it is what it is. So
what a feeling.
Yeah. So
9-year-old kid going yard. Or I guess he could have been older, but either way, still going yard the first time is a great feeling, man.
No, it was fun to watch. It was impressive.
Yeah.
No question about that.
I'm trying to think because they started. I had an older brother who was a very good baseball player growing up, and then even in high school, he was an all-city player as a sophomore, and he just stopped playing baseball because he wanted to worry about basketball. And I think he looks back on that and he goes, "Why the hell did I do that?" Because he should have played football, one, but two is, losing out on baseball and stuff like that. But he obviously he had a very good. He played professionally in Europe for 7-8 years, so he did very well for himself. It was the right decision.
Yeah,
but I don't like. You and I were only a couple years apart. I loved going from playing football. Well, first of all, I didn't play football until I was in 8th grade, so my fall sports were pretty much nothing really. Playing Little League baseball in the summertime, and then getting into basketball in the fall, in the winter and stuff, and then getting into baseball and stuff like that. I used to love all that stuff, playing all the different sports growing up. Is a Turtle going that route? Or is he going to start? Like you said, there's the difference in travel sports and this and that, and
yeah. So he has a buddy that is, I think, on a travel team. So he has it in his mind that he wants to do it. He wants to do fall baseball now, which I don't think we want him to get exposed to some other things. And it's great that he loves baseball, but he also has expressed interest in a bunch of other sports. And then, it's just now in the moment, he's like, all right, I think I want to do fall. I'm like, well, let's maybe just take a break and find something else. I don't care what else, but either do wrestling for a couple months, or he's talked about trying to do karate or a swim team or flag football, any of these things. I'm like, let's just try one of these other ones out again for a little while, and then
cut you off real quick.
Back to it. Yep.
When Fitz lived here,
yep,
it's exactly what he said. He goes, "This might be the greatest place in the world to raise children." He goes, "I got one kid who wants to do a wrestling, one kid wants to be a karate star, one kid wants to play lacrosse, baseball."
No,
they
the
all
opportunities.
Yeah, we didn't have those opportunities growing up to have all those different sports.
No, and there's they do that flag rugby over the summer. No, it's the opportunities that are available, and even like rock climbing, like some of the other kayaking.
Man,
all
cool.
of those things are within a half-hour drive available for kiddos to explore. If you have a kiddo that's telling you he or she is bored, that should be easily rectified.
Around here,
say that.
Fitzy always used to talk about that. He regretted leaving because of that. Obviously he had to leave, but he regretted it because there was so many opportunities for kids, but this area is known for having kids sports. It's great. A lot of options, a lot of different sports.
There are a ton of opportunities.
I couldn't play hockey growing up. I couldn't play lacrosse. I did play Little League. What was it? Springfield midget soccer.
Yeah.
Springfield biddy basketball. And there was a couple local football teams, but I was always too heavy. And then they got rid of the weights, but that's why I could play in 8th grade.
But I don't think, at least if travel was an option, we weren't aware of it. I will say that.
Travel was an all-star team. Was the only time you traveled. And that was the end of the year.
Yeah, and I don't even remember. I'm sure we had it, but I don't even remember that or it being a thing. Really? We would have had to have had it. But yeah, everybody just played.
They played much
soccer
longer
in the fall until you got to, for us, it was junior high, middle school now. But and then you could go out for football. Football wasn't even an option, flag football or tackle football, until you got to 7th grade.
Correct.
When I was a kid, and so we did soccer in the fall, and then we'd play, pickup football games, and then we did basketball and wrestling over the winter. We did both, and then either I usually did I did baseball, but it was either baseball or some kind of track and field events in the spring and summer.
We played street hockey a lot.
We did not do that. And again, this is State College area.
There's no doubt. The only reason it was big in Philadelphia is because of the Flyers winning cups in 74 and 75. Sure. So there you go.
No, it makes a ton of sense.
And everybody got into it, but none of I'm honest to God going to tell you, I probably had, growing up, guys in my grade school who played hockey, 0, maybe 5 or 6 in high school that played in a local team. My high school didn't have a team, and now they're state champs all the time. But I would have liked an opportunity to have played, to try it, because I loved I absolutely adored street hockey.
Yeah.
Loved it. And my little brother was always the goalie, so that was the best part. Just wailing slap shots off his neck and chin, and
always fun to beat up on the little guy.
Yeah, he's the youngest, so he's the goalie.
Yeah,
it's just the rules, man.
That's just the way it is. We'll take a break here. We are back with more on our Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here from Quaker Steak Lube.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half-century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
The State College Spikes are hitting the field all summer long. Enjoy fun, affordable family entertainment as the future of baseball is on display in Happy Valley. Spike teams have something for everyone at the new-look Mettler Field at Leblano Park. From great giveaways to fantastic deals, from special appearances to plenty of fireworks, all the way through September 3rd. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or get the schedule and buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen O'Habaker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen O'Habaker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen O'Habaker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome back in here on a very hot Tuesday afternoon in the Valley of Happiness.
cooling down tomorrow, supposed to be in the 80s.
Yeah, we'll take it. We'll take it happily, actually. Yeah, Penn State football, relatively quiet summer again in terms of off the field news, which is always a good thing. As we get closer, Goon, I just have a feeling that this team may be able to accomplish what last year's team could not. And I don't mean making the playoffs, obviously, with the 12-team field. Yes, that too. But I think getting to that 11-win mark is attainable if this team can stay relatively healthy. And I do think that's always an unknown component. But I really, in talking and just listening to people that are more on the beat with the team, I really do think that there's that chemistry. And we talked about it. I mean, they had it last year. And I think they did. I think they had the chemistry. I think they got beat by two really good football teams last year. And 10-2 is certainly very much in play. But I really think the closer we get to the season, like Ohio State is just the one team that I think talent-wise on Penn State's schedule. And listen, make no mistake, for maybe the first time since Penn State joined the Big Ten, it feels like the Nittany Lions actually got cut a break from the conference in that they're not playing either Michigan or Oregon, who I think are the next two best teams aside from Ohio State in the conference. Taking obviously Penn State out of the equation. And so on paper anyway, you're facing only the outside of Ohio State, the fifth best team in the conference or lower in the remainder of the schedule. And while the game at West Virginia, I think, is challenging, it's certainly not a daunting, especially with the noon kickoff, not a daunting challenge. And I think, I'm not ready to make bold predictions that 11-1 is guaranteed or anything, but it very much to me feels like this team should go 11-1. I don't think it's the end of the world or James Franklin dropping the ball again if they go 10-2. It just, I think with Kotelnicki in there as offensive coordinator, the wrinkles that I'm expecting they're going to add to the offense, the year of development that Aller has had, the rest of the leadership on that side of the ball, I think leadership on defense and, Tom Allen, I think will be fine. Might not be Manny Diaz, but I think he's going to be fine there on that side of the ball. And I think Penn State is rightly being pegged at 3 or 4 in the conference. I think on paper, Ohio State is clear 1A. I think Oregon is clear 1B to me. And then Michigan, Penn State, kind of the.
I got Michigan back a little farther personally. I think they have just too much to replace on offense. Now you have that
they lost a lot,
winning attitude and stuff like that.
Well, attitude and the recruiting, the depth that we were talking about. It might not be what Ohio State and Texas and Georgia have built up, but it's pretty darn good. But yeah, I mean, I do think they'll take. Well, I think they'll take a step back. Certainly from last season. I'm not sure it's going to be that big of a step back.
They got Texas week 2, so that's going to be a real big one.
And it's a home game. I just think Texas. So that is one of those where I just think the timing is not great for Michigan. And the timing couldn't be better for Texas. Again, I think they've been building kind of toward this transition year into the SEC to make a splash in that conference. And again, while I don't think Michigan's going to drop off the face of the earth, they're not what they were certainly a year ago. And I think they're going to be finding their way a little bit here in the early part of the season, kind of figuring some things out. Texas is not who you want to be playing. I don't care home or away. That's not who you want to be playing. And Texas is not going to be, I don't think, going to Michigan early in the season, especially. You know, one thing if you're taking on Michigan in November or December, but early in the year, I have a hard time seeing how Michigan wins that game. That being said, I think the experience of that game is going to help Michigan as it works its way through the Big Ten portion of the schedule. I think they'll learn a lot about themselves and what they have.
A proud program, man.
Game.
You're coming off a national title season. I mean, yes, they're going to be down, but you have a lot of guys who sit there saying, you know what?
This is my opportunity.
Is where we're at. This is our opportunity. Yeah. I'm not a huge Texas fan. I don't know if you know this or not. You can tell by the way I'm talking about them. I don't think they're tough. I just don't think that they're tough. And I think that if Michigan can get up and round up to play that game, I think they can beat Texas, beat them up. I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to be easy. There's no doubt. I mean, they're probably at least a touchdown to 10-point dog, I would say, even at home.
Yeah.
Now, with that said, I think that if Michigan can come out and play a very physical game, which their new coach is an offensive line coach.
Yeah,
that's more. So he's going to come out and try to impose his will. That's just how an offensive line coach feels, and that's what he's going to try to do to Michigan. I mean, to Texas, and nothing Texas has done in lately has led me to believe that they've changed, they've turned. They're a pretty tough team right now. That's why I'm saying I'm worried about them going to the Big 12.
I don't know. The win over Bama was pretty darn impressive.
Yeah. I mean, I was never sold on Alabama's quarterback, though. I don't think he's historically what they have had there in the last two dozen years. But he played great going down and then get him into the playoffs, and he should have won that game against Michigan personally, the Alabama quarterback. But
probably,
I'm blanking, dude. Who did Washington beat in the semifinal? Was it Texas, Georgia, or Ohio State? Crazy, I could not remember this. I'm thinking it was Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, Washington beat Texas for the right to play Michigan in the final.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I think Texas is I hear what you're saying. I think they did take that step last year, and I just think the depth that they have on that roster is there are not a lot of teams that are going to be able to match up with them. Now, Georgia and Alabama are probably two of them, and Ohio State. But outside of those three, I don't know. Michigan later in the year, I think, would. I'd feel more.
They could feel,
more confident that they could at least make that a game. I think Texas has such a veteran team, and they want to make such a statement. And not that Michigan's not going to want to make a statement, especially at home, for their new coach. I don't know. We'll see. Right now, I think Michigan's going to have a really hard time just at that stage of the year. And I think that
there's a bullseye on it.
That projected win by me for Texas is what's going to propel them into being in that national conversation. And then we'll see, what happens with them in Georgia. That Georgia-Alabama game this year is also going to be a fascinating watch. I think Georgia is now the standard bearer, but I really think Alabama is not going to take a step back. At
Kyle
least
DeBoer
not.
is a heck of a coach, man.
Yeah,
and now he was driving a.
I'm not sure he's not the best. And we'll find out maybe over the next few years
with what he wanted at Boise State for those years.
And I just think he is one of those organizational guys like Nick Saban, like Kirby Smart. I like all the great ones. I just think it'll translate well. And now he has the additional resources.
And he had a lot of
that
guys
one
leave,
feels
so
like it's going to work really well.
He put a lot of people that he would want in
Yeah,
those positions. He's not walking into a team that's already proven in this and that. So he has these guys who are going to be hungry.
for sure.
It's what he does, though. I mean, he's very good at that at a Boise State. Man, but the knock on Boise State is they play 2 or 3 big games a year. You're Alabama. You're everybody's Super Bowl. Everybody's Super Bowl. You're getting everybody's best shot. So
Yeah,
he better be ready to go and have these guys ready to rock.
but I think he will. He also
I.
has
I
a
agree.
lot different talent pool now than what he had at Boise. So, but
It's funny we're talking about, we haven't even mentioned Florida, who's really down right now. I mean, like really down.
Tennessee's another one that I think is just going to be.
Can they make that
how,
next step?
Yeah. How does that thing develop? Mississippi's another one. I think Ole Miss this year, like they are kind of circling the wagons too, and I think they have high hopes with the NIL and all of that. We'll see. It's just. It is really hard to make significant headway against the big dogs, whether it's Ohio State in the Big Ten, Alabama or Georgia in the SEC. And that's what, unfortunately for these schools, like Tennessee, could have a great season. But if they lose to Alabama and Georgia and drop one other game by a point or two, right? It's, oh, man. And now same thing with Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin, if 9-3 is not going to be heralded down there. And I don't think Lane Kiffin wants it to be heralded, but and again, that's across the board, and it's going to be much the same thing in the Big Ten. Although I don't think I do buy the SEC commercials. It just means more. Listen, Iowa and Wisconsin, they want to win big, but it's not a demand. It's not an expectation. Like Tennessee, if it doesn't win big, if it's not in the playoffs in the next year or two, right? What's going on? Same thing, Florida. Arkansas, for crying out loud. Ole Miss. Well, only 2 teams get into the championship game, and only whatever. We'll see what it shakes out to be. 4 or 5. Probably from the conference or going into the playoffs. Well, if you figure Alabama and Georgia aren't going anywhere, and if you're like me and you think Texas is pretty much a lock this year, well, now you're fighting for 1 or 2 spots with a bunch of schools that have really high hopes and expectations. That math doesn't really add up at the end of the day. And like the Big Ten to me is interesting in this regard too, because I presume Ohio State and Oregon, barring something really unforeseen, those are going to be 2 playoff teams. And then I think at least one between Michigan and Penn State are likely in. And you end up
maybe Wisconsin, maybe SC.
Yeah, but I don't think those they'll be disappointed, but I don't think it's like, all right, our head coach is better get it done than the following year or else. Like they want to win, but there's, at least from my perception, like Iowa, Wisconsin, USC is a little different. USC to me is the most fascinating watch in the Big Ten this year, because I want to see if that defense is able to progress with any significance, and just how quickly and to what degree the pressure gets ratcheted up if they do have, a 4 or 5 loss season, which I think is likely.
I'm looking at Riley he's You might be dead man walking.
Yeah, and the thing is, so if that ends up being the case, like, where do you go if you're USC to try to make headway then in the Big Ten, where Oregon, I think, has a leg up, and Phil Knight, reportedly is kind of
You read that article?
literally going all in on whatever it takes type of a thing. He wants to see a championship there before but he leaves
again, I go back to it, Jeff. They're not playing. It's an AAU team. If they lose, they lose. I don't think it's going to matter to those guys. They're going to get paid. Now, they're going to go out and win. They're going to win by 75 points, and they're going to go crazy and this and that. But when push comes to shove,
we'll see.
Exactly. I'm so interested in. I'm looking. You know who I'm looking at. I'm looking at Ohio State. I'm looking at Colorado, and I'm looking at Oregon. They're three teams, paid a lot of money, get their teams rocking and rolling, and I want to see if they're not winning. Like, I've been around AAU programs, and it's like if they're not the best team, these guys get angry and mad, and they start inner fighting amongst each other, and they don't want to play anymore. Seen it happen. It could very easily happen in this world because, again, we are giving this kind of money to 17 to 21-year-old kids.
Nuts. Yep.
It is absolutely insane to think about, and no one's ever really thinking about what's the bad that could come of this. And there is bad out there. There is definitely bad out there, and it's scary. But, like we said, I'm interested in those three schools who, when a push comes to shove, you're not playing because you love University of Oregon. You love it because Phil Knight's giving you a check for $2 million or $185,000 or whatever he's giving you. I don't know what it is. But you're playing for that. You're not playing for the love of this university, the love of the school, and the love of your teammates. Now, the people that can get to that point where they're playing for the love of their team and their teammates and their school, and they're getting paid, that's going to be a big-time winning program.
Yeah.
But it's tough to find, man, because you're recruiting kids who are only out for the buck. Right?
To some degree, I think that's...
Yeah, and that's
true.
It's not cut and dry. Yeah, you're right. There is some wayward ways you can go with that.
Yeah.
But these guys are not making their decision. Like the kid who's going to South Carolina, the one wide receiver in Pennsylvania. I forget the kid's name. Going to South Carolina. Where did that come from? That's a money purchase right there. They paid us the most money. Penn State wouldn't match it, so bye. Sorry, Penn State. He's going to South Carolina. You think he gives a crap about South Carolina?
I don't know. He says he developed a relationship with their receivers coach, and that
I hope it's true.
So
I hope it's true, Jeffrey.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know what all.
There's a lot of question marks this year, man.
Yeah, I don't know what all truly goes. I mean, certainly the NIL offers, understandably, have to factor in now in the decision-making process, but it's really hard to say the degree to which it is.
How much of the decision's made on money?
Yeah, versus, hey, tradition, coaches I like, campuses I like. Like, I still think the whiteout is a great selling point for Penn State, but the whiteout in and of itself, like, that shouldn't be why you choose a school either, right? It's like, wow, one time a year they have this really cool, right? But so yes, the NIL look, I got to check this out, but hopefully you're getting a feel for, hey, is this guy gonna look out for my future? Is he gonna look out for my well-being?
Yep.
All of that.
I tell it a million times.
I think it still factors.
In 1982, Joe Paterno, 1983, excuse me, Joe Paterno came to my mom and dad's house, February 1983. And my dad, born and raised Catholic Philadelphia, Notre Dame guy, liked Notre Dame, but we were NFL family. We were not really at college. None of us went to college, obviously. No one had gone to the college in the family. We're all blue collar mutts. You know what sold me, my brother? Is Joe Paterno looking at my dad's eyes and saying, I'm going to be your father. I'm going to take your rollover with Chris, a.k.a. Buckwheat.
Yep.
And I will be there for him, and I will ride him, and I'll make him into a man. That's all my father wanted to hear, was who was going to take care of my son and make him into a man. That's all he wanted to hear. And Paterno looked at him and right in his eyes and said, I will turn your son into a man, and I will protect him. I will guide him. I will be his father figure. Now, it stinks. You know, having another father busting your chops during your 5 years at Penn State, it's hard, but it is, he looked out for you and you were worried about it. Now, I mean, how does this, I can't wait to talk to Coach Franklin and be like, hey, dude, how does the money get broached? Like, is it like the first minute conversation of the second visit? Like how do you say I'm looking for $500,000 and you got me? How do you say that? Is it just plain just out there? It's a whole different world, dude.
It is. And I suspect different coaches and different programs are handling it slightly differently too. And listen, there's going to be families where it's like, that's true. Tell me where the top dollar is.
You're right,
I'm going there. And there's going to be families that are like, listen, I'd love for my kid to get to the NFL, but realistically, this college degree means a lot because we don't know what that
That's a good point,
likelihood is. So
read that room, man.
Yep, I think there's going to be a lot of truthfully, there's always been a lot of different reasons why kids and families select different schools, and this just adds another element that makes it more difficult for sure.
I just
for it to be the quote unquote right reason
how it's broached.
Yeah, that's
like, how do you sit there and look at Cale Sanderson and say, well, what are you going to give me? I'm going to give you my all, and you're going to wrestle for 4 or 5 years in the best program in the country right now.
And listen,
every day,
and I think every coach would like to do that, right? Would like that to be the response. Cale, to some degree, again, I think can do that and probably does do that. It's like, well, I'm not guaranteeing you X amount of money. It could happen, but maybe not. But what I can guarantee you is, if your goal is to be a national champion and a world champion or an Olympic gold medalist, we're going to give you all of the all of the help you could possibly ask.
How about every day you're going to wrestle against the best people you've ever wrestled in your life? Every day you'll see that.
Now, and again, I think every coach would like to be able to do that and say it. There's few that have the resume and the pedigree to be able to do it without seeing the program kind of dissolve in front of their eyes. So,
good point.
Take a break here. We're coming right back with more. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see ya in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
The State College Spikes are hitting the field all summer long. Enjoy fun, affordable family entertainment as the future of baseball is on display in Happy Valley. Spike teams have something for everyone at the new-look Medler Field at LeBron Park. From great giveaways to fantastic deals, from special appearances to plenty of fireworks, all the way through September 3rd. For tickets, call 814-272-1711 or get the schedule and buy and download at statecollegespikes.com.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to gohcareers.com to apply. gohcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
The Goon and Ironhead.
We welcome you back in here on a Tuesday afternoon. It is the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube, where the all-you-can-eat wing buffet gets underway in roughly 33 minutes and 28 seconds from now.
Nobody's counting, though, Jeff.
No,
nobody's counting.
The countdown isn't officially underway or anything like that.
So, assistant manager here at the Lube, Brenton, just said that he's predicting Skeens to pitch an immaculate inning.
Oh, I like it. I'll go with that.
You know what that gets you? Another inning to pitch.
There you go. Possibly.
See, we were talking about the All-Star game before, and they were having highlights before when I was in here having lunch before you got here.
Yeah.
And they had the 84 All-Star game on, and I'm telling you, I named every guy on that team. I really did, both teams.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, that was our heyday there. And I was 11 years old. That's when baseball meant the most to me, type of thing. And I'm looking at guys, and I'm like, and they showed somebody, and I say, that's the only person I can compare Skeens with. There's two people in our lifetime, obviously baseball pitchers, there's two. Doc Gooden, being so good, so young.
Yeah.
And then Fernando.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, these guys are going to change the freaking game. Like, they did pretty much.
Yeah.
Because the other guy up there, that Skeens is the first rookie to start since, do you know?
No.
Hideki Nomo.
Oh, is that right?
But there's another guy who came up there, but I think once they figured him out, he flamed out a little bit. I mean, he pitched a long time, right? Hideki Nomo.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think he had the longevity of a Doc Gooden Fernando wasn't that super, super long, but
yeah,
he fell out of the stardom pretty quick. But his rookie year, he was unbelievable.
He was.
Fernando Mania, baby.
Thoughts on Washington as the whiteout game for
Well, it's a hell of a
Penn
day
State.
because it's my birthday.
Oh, there you go.
I am 5'2" that day. I did not want it to be homecoming because I think homecoming has its own, my personal opinion.
Yeah,
I want it to be somewhat in the dark. So it's not going to be a noon game. We're guaranteed of that. It's not going to be. It's either going to be a 3, 4, or 7 o'clock game. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
So at least the second half will be in the dark. That I just love. I do. It's so nice at night.
I will say it is. If it is a night game,
yep,
that is a brutal introduction to Happy Valley for Washington. I mean, that's a program that's never made the trip to Penn State, and for that to, and again, it's the timing. Washington obviously has a terrific football program,
yep,
but they're in for a down year, and
yes,
this is not the environment for a team that is having a down year to come into. That just seems almost unnecessarily cruel.
Putting in the night game and the whiteout. You know what, Jeff? You're that is a tough environment to come into in your first time. Now it is, what would that be, like games 8, 9?
Yeah.
So they'd have gone through a couple big games type of thing, but that is.
But I think that's going to make it all because I don't think they're going to do well in those other games. I mean, I think they'll have,
So
at least
since we've been doing this October 12th thing that me and Chris had started a couple weeks ago, that like who's going to play what game, the big noon game for Fox, this and that, who's going to slot in at what time? You saw the October 12th games, right?
Yeah.
We're at USC and Ohio State is at Oregon.
Yeah.
Now you have Texas, Oklahoma already at 3:30. You have LSU, Florida that day, and then you have Tennessee, Florida, Oklahoma, Texas that day, and LSU, Ole Miss. So there's like a glut. So, and I don't know if this is true or not, and I don't know if you know the answer to this. Somebody said that the Pac-12 teams that are coming in agreed to not play a 9 a.m. home game. It's sort of in their contract, and you can see why.
Yeah, no,
now,
that's not.
Now, if Washington's playing or Oregon is playing at Michigan or Ohio State, and that's at noon. Hey, sucks to be you. That's at 9 o'clock in the morning for you. But I don't think they're going to put their fans through that and then a kickoff at 9 a.m.
reasonable to me.
Now,
I
in the same breath,
that,
I have to say this: October 18th, which is a week later, Friday night, Rutgers is at USC. Kickoff 11 p.m. Now, is that fair to Rutgers?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? It's like, this is what people never put it in perspective when all these teams were coming in, is that type of thing. But, like, that's not fair to Rutgers to play a Friday night game out in the West Coast at 11 p.m. for them. Physically, it's 11 o'clock at night for them.
Yeah.
And they'll be fine. These are highly tuned, highly, functional athletes. But 11 p.m. kick for an East Coast team, that's a little late, man. And you're not going to have the 9 a.m. kick out there for your fans or whatever, but you're going to have your Rutgers, kids out there at 11 o'clock at night. I don't think that's fair. Now, Rutgers obviously agreed to it. It's probably going to be a national, obviously 11 o'clock at night. It's not going to be a national game. It'll be on the FSN late Friday night, midnight game. Think about that.
I mean, that's just part of the.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you know if that's true or not about the West Coast can't start a game? Okay.
I don't.
So
I had not heard that. No.
And I can't imagine why would Oregon say yes? Or USC?
It would be
why would they say, we will play this game at 9 o'clock in the morning?
Be awfully tough for the kids, but more so. I mean, maybe not more so, fans and the support staff and crew, like that's, presumably you're getting parking lots open by, at least 6 a.m. at the latest. That's a lot.
Very, very late.
Yeah, that's just a lot to put on.
Yeah. And we have watched when ESPN game day is on a West Coast and it kicks off at 9 o'clock in the morning and it's pitch black out there. Imagine they going to the game and the gates open at 4 or 5 in the morning. You're tailgating in the dark, in the pitch of black for the first 3 hours. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love doing it. I would definitely do it. But like I said, I don't think sometimes it's not fair.
Life isn't fair, my man.
Well, but if they're going to, I don't want them to play a 9 a.m. game. I do not want that to happen because that's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the local guys because,
what game would you put on, though, then, if you're...
I'm telling you, because LSU is pretty much always going to be a night game. It's at LSU. It's going to be in Death Valley. They're going to play a night game. Oklahoma, Texas is guaranteed. They are already slotted 3:30 on ABC. So, I mean, they're going to make Florida, Tennessee the big noon game? No, because Fox doesn't own the rights to them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, and it's the other Big Ten games are not all that.
It's like,
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to have for that big noon game that day. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
That's what it is, Jeff. But
it's a
I don't
Fox
know. Is
problem.
this a as open a season as you ever remember going into? I mean, there's so many subplots to this year.
I mean,
New teams jumping around.
I think there are a lot of
schools.
interesting storylines. Yeah. I think we know, pretty much know right now, the 4 or 5 teams from whom the national champion will be crowned.
Nope. Huh. But Jeff, I mean, you and I are sports fans.
Yeah.
Hockey. You run into a hot goalie. In the playoffs, you can get stumped.
Yeah, I mean, health is going to play a factor, but after listening to the discussion on ESPN today about the depth of those top teams, it's just hard, not impossible for me to imagine somebody other than one of those, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Texas.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's impossible for anybody else to win. It's just that those programs are set up where if their star quarterback goes down, okay, we have another star quarterback. Oh, but your star quarterback and your top linebacker went down. Yeah, we have another 5-star linebacker.
It was the Alabama
who
national
was
title
going to
game
go
a couple of years ago.
next year.
Their 5-star safety goes down. And they replace him with so-and-so, a 5-star safety. He's a sophomore this year. So
yeah, I mean, like if Aller goes down, it's devastating. I'm not saying that it's not possible somebody else gets hot, but it's devastating. It would seem devastating. If Ohio State loses, whoever turns out to be their starting quarterback, so, well, okay. And now we go to one of the other 5-star. Oh, no, both of them went down. Okay, we go to one of the other 3. 5. I mean, so
I think they lose 2 guys in camp.
That is very possible.
But it's complete crap that the coaches aren't like, hey, listen, like this is a 3-man run. Why would they keep trying to hang on to all 5?
Well, because of what I just said. They realize that depth factor is important.
I'm with you.
And at the end of the day, again, you're not getting through 15, 16, 17 games without sustaining some significant injuries. Now, the timing of those injuries, the degree, all of that stuff, obviously. But, I mean, that's all part of it. And that's what I'm saying. So there's a lot of margin for error with the Ohio States, with the Texases, with the Georgias. In terms of being title contenders, there's not a lot of margin of error for Penn State, for like Michigan moving forward. And even, I mean, we'll see how much this changes, but I mean, even Oregon right now, the depth that Ohio State has, Oregon does not have. Now, if both teams are healthy, I think Oregon matches up reasonably well, but over 4 quarters, and certainly over the course of the season, I just think, again, Ohio State is better positioned to handle the long haul. And and same thing with Georgia. And then, there's a handful of other schools that could get into that mix if everything kind of breaks right.
Very interesting.
And I think Penn State is one of those. But,
I mean, you're in the same breath, what you're saying, and I agree. Penn State can go 12-0. They can also go 8-4, in my opinion, with this, on how it goes and how guys, I mean, every year is different. We know that.
Yeah.
But can it stay on the guide rails and get to that 12-0, 11-1, 10-2? 10-2, you're in the playoffs. 10-2, I don't think you're hosting a playoff game.
Well, so
what do you think? 10-2 get you in?
I do. And so here's
home.
When we look at the Penn State season as a whole, I am improperly, I will concede, because you can't take anything for granted. I understand that. That being said, I'm taking it for granted that Penn State will be 5-0. I think Penn State just has a better team than West Virginia. I get West Virginia has a very good quarterback. They are going to be sky high for that game. I get all of that. I just think at the end of the day, Penn State is in really good position.
The horses.
To go into
over.
Morgantown and win that game.
Correct.
And I love – this is one of the few seasons – I talked about the Big Ten kind of seemingly throwing Penn State a bone here by not having to play Michigan or Oregon. This is one of the few seasons where, honestly, to me, it feels like everything just lines up well for Penn State. At West Virginia, oh my gosh, what if it's a night game? No, it's not. It's noon. It's a noon game. And not that, listen, I think Penn State would go in if it was a night game and win it. But that is noon versus 8 o'clock in Morgantown. That is a heck of a difference. And that is a huge plus.
I don't know what you're talking about, Jeff. What could you be talking about, sir?
For the first time in a seeming eternity, Penn State opens up Big Ten play, not on the road, but actually at home. And with a homecoming game against Illinois, Penn State's record in homecoming games is very good.
Big weekend for the kid, too.
And then you have UCLA. And I'm sorry, UCLA is not going to walk into Beaver Stadium in its first year in the conference and win that game. So,
and if it does,
hats off to them. Amazing.
No, there might be blood in the highways.
It'll be amazing.
Yes.
So I have Penn State 5-0, and I feel supremely confident
with a bye
about 5-0,
and it had a bye in between. So
5-0 going into the game at USC.
I'm cool with it.
And we'll see. Again, USC to me is one of those teams to watch this year. What kind of adjustments does Lincoln Riley make? What type of a field does that program have with Caleb Williams now gone? I think there's just a lot of moving parts there. Wouldn't shock me if they have a better than expected year, but wouldn't shock me if we see the demise of Lincoln Riley as head coach in Southern California either. I do think that's a big test, regardless of the season that USC has, going out there, playing in that facility, all of it. I think that'll be a good test. I certainly am not. I have Penn State at 5-0. I'm not willing to just automatically chalk the USC game up to a W. I feel good about it as we sit here right now.
We never won out there.
I think if everything is equal in terms of injuries and all of that, I feel like Penn State should have the better team, should win that game. And again, it's that 3-game stretch there, starting with USC and then at Wisconsin. But again, you have that week off before Wisconsin. If you do take care of business at USC, again, confidence will be very high. You're 6-0. I understand the track record here coming off of bye weeks. I still like having the bye week between road games with USC and Wisconsin. You get back on your clock, and then make the trip to Madison. And I think Wisconsin will be good this year. I don't think they're going to be a playoff good kind of Wisconsin team this year.
But that could be sneaky too, though.
It could be really sneaky because
they're the best.
Well, and a couple of other things. So if you do lose that USC game now, or any of the other, if you have a loss going into that Wisconsin game now, where is the psyche of that Penn State team going into that? And USC obviously is going to be up for that game regardless of how their season has gone to that point. And then Wisconsin, much the same thing. Again, Penn State track record coming off of a bye week, not great. Wisconsin is again a always dangerous team, always physical team, all of that. And yeah, I'm certainly not presuming a W there, and then obviously come back home for the showdown with Ohio State. But then after that, regardless of, even if you go off the rails with those 3 games, and I just don't envision that. I think worst case scenario, you're 6-2. But even if you're 6-2 coming out of that slate, again, your stretch run is Washington now with the whiteout game at Beaver Stadium. And it's a Washington team that has to replenish a lot. And I just don't think that's just not a game that Penn State's going to lose. Right. At Purdue, Penn State certainly will be favored. Weird things have happened at Purdue over the years with other teams. So, again, I'm not necessarily taking it for granted, but Penn State should win that. At Minnesota, you talk about pressure getting ratcheted up. PJ Fleck is getting some pressure now in Minneapolis. We'll see how their season progresses to that point. And then obviously Maryland, but you're back home. I know it's,
by the way,
it's
that
Maryland season.
Mid to late November at Minnesota outside. It's going to be a doozy, bud.
Well, and especially if agreed. And if PJ Fleck is, if that team is, hey, we need to win this one for our coach, or if, I don't think Minnesota is going to have a playoff contending type of team this year. But, yeah, that could be a dangerous game. And certainly there is some precedent for Minnesota spoiling things for Penn State.
Late November? No
before. Way. I've heard stories that maybe has happened. But, again, you look at that. Again, I think 5-0, and I feel good about those last 4 games. And then it's that 3-game stretch at USC, at Wisconsin, and home with Ohio State. The 2 teams that you're, I think, better than on paper anyway. You're on the road. The team that you're on paper not as good as, you get at home. So I think that lines up. Again, from Penn State's perspective, this is one of the few times I can remember looking at a schedule saying, man, it seems like Penn State got a few breaks here. Kickoff time with West Virginia, couple of bye weeks in there. I think it's a well-timed one, especially between that USC and Wisconsin game. You get Ohio State at home. You're not playing Michigan or Oregon. Again, I'm not saying this all lines up or guarantees anything. I'm just saying it. Usually we look at the schedule when it comes out, man, that's a bad break. You got to go on the road and take on Purdue at night. You got to go, face Iowa at, Kinnick at night. We'll see how everything, again, a lot of these start times we don't know yet, but there's just a lot that seems to be playing in Penn State's favor. I think they'll have one of their more experienced teams overall, certainly offensively.
Hope so, man.
But again, there's still questions. That offensive line, how well do they replace the three pieces that went missing there? And I think I am among those presuming that things are going to work well offensively with Kotelnicki coming in. And I think they're going to, I think exceptionally well. I think my expectation for the offense is probably a little maybe higher than what it should be. I think this is the right coach at the right time with the right personnel. And I think that offense has a chance to be dynamite, like one of the best in the country, the best in the Big Ten, or right there with Ohio State anyway in the Big Ten. Like, that's my expectation. And I think the defense is inevitably has to take a step back from where it was a year ago. But I don't think it's going to be a big step back. I really don't. I think they've got a lot of talent there, and I think Tom Allen is underestimated by many, even within the Penn State fan base, in terms of his ability to put guys in the right position to make plays consistently. I mean, that's just what he did at Indiana.
I know. And I love these coordinators. I want to see what they can do, man.
Yeah, and I think Penn State's defense, while it might not be quite as good as last year statistically, I think it's going to be, by the time of the year that it has to be, a strong point for Penn State, which is by the time you get to USC, I think they'll be there. I really
say
do.
the least.
So, again, that's all conjecture, and that's the fun of preseason football talk. We're going to wrap up shop for today. We will be back on Thursday. God willing, we will be on the radio again after our week and a half hiatus here from the local airwaves, and we will talk to you then. Until then, enjoy the All-Star game and be good and be safe.